Hey everybody, welcome back to the Black Girl Flow podcast weekly L special, where y'all get a sneak peek of the unedited rough draft version of our life and all of the weekly L's that we take that obviously we turn into lessons. Trust me when I say we have a lot to unpack. Y'all know how it goes. That summertime got people acting out of sorts, out of character, which means that's causing me havoc.
It's
chaos.
causing us havoc. And it's funny because I feel like there must be a statistic out there that shows, do we take more L's in the summertime?
Yes, because we outside.
We outside.
We outside. And outside is dangerous. Dangerous place, okay?
I know.
Outside is where the people at.
Outside, I definitely be taking more L's outside without a doubt. That's why I'd be trying to stay inside, but you know.
How's that going for you? How's that going for you?
So last time we chatted, y'all love when I talk about my relationship L's. And the funny thing about it,
they're relatable.
They're relatable, but it's like, that's literally probably the highest category that I'd be taking L's. And so we could really be doing this for days. Like I got stories on stories. And so I'll start off the weekly L segment by talking about my dating L that I took over the course of the summer. So this story really starts with the psychic. Okay,
it does.
so
we got to run this back.
We got to run it back because, you know, I'm a spiritual girl, love a good psychic reading, spiritual guidance, counselor type of situation. I'm into all that stuff. And so I had seen my first psychic in December. And when I was there, she told me that I would potentially meet a love interest in June. She said she didn't see me like being with anybody for the first 6 months of the year. But when June came along, June, July-ish, I could be meeting somebody. So I had matched with this guy on Bumble. And, you know, he's tall.
It definitely wasn't off of him like, I'm super interested. Right. It was off of like some other categories have perked my interest. So I'm just gonna hit you with the swipe right.
Absolutely.
And we're going to see what happens.
And I'm like, okay, you know,
which is saying a lot because it takes a lot to get that girl's thumb to move in the opposite direction.
It takes a lot for me to swipe. Absolutely. I'm very picky with the swipes. And so I had matched with him and I didn't really like have conversation with him through Bumble. Yeah. But me and Lexi, we had gone to dinner one day and then we were on a walk after dinner.
Yes.
And
oh my gosh. Okay, keep going. Then I want to tell from my vantage point.
Okay. So we had gone on a walk after dinner and we end up seeing the guy that I had matched with on Bumble like a week ago. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I think that's the guy from Bumble.
Yeah.
And I'm like kind of tweaking because I don't know how to act when I see like guys that I know on the internet in real life.
It's breaking the fourth wall.
Absolutely, because it's like, I'm not supposed to see you here. You're supposed to still be on my phone.
I'm not supposed to see you out if we didn't plan to see each other out. The like unexpected. It's like, no. Stay in the app. Stay in the digital world.
Here.
Stay in the metaverse.
This is my space. Why are you here? And so I had seen him and I was like, yo, I literally had to, by that time I'd already deleted Bumble off my phone. I had to download the app, check to see if it was him. And I was like, oh snap. Lexi's like, oh my gosh, you should go say hi to him. Da da da. And I was like, I don't know if he's like on a date right now. Like, I don't want to, you know, like.
But what are the odds? What are the odds, y'all?
She was hyping the situation up, to be clear. She was like, yo, like, this is serendipitous. Like, we weren't supposed to go this walking way. And, like, here you are stumbling upon him. And, like, it just feels like it's right. And da-da-da-da. And so I was like, oh, snap. And so I, like, as I'm leaving, like, that area, I'm like, oh, my God, I texted him through Bumble. And I was like, did I see you here? And he's like, yeah, that was definitely me. Like, let's like come back so we can like have a chat. So I'm like, okay, like, you know, this feels like this could be the person the psychic was talking about. And we like talk for like 3 hours and it's chill. It's a chill vibe. It wasn't like anything spectacular. I think I came home and I was like, yeah, like it was straight. Like I need to hang out with him again to see like how the vibe is. And so after I had that moment with him, he had like texted me probably 5 days later, which is a red flag. If you're texting me like more than, honestly,
but 5 days for
hours,
5 days for an Aquarius is the 48-hour window.
Yes. Did I mention he was an Aquarius? He's like, I'm like, yo, what the heck? So I had kind of already like mentally prepared to move on. I was like, wait, you're hitting me up 5 days afterwards? And get this, he hit me up 5 days afterwards trying to do something that day.
It was bold.
It was like, hey, like, are you down for another spontaneous outing? And I was like, pretty much, I don't know who the fuck you think I am, but I'm not her. I am not her.
And it's so wild.
Audacity.
It's wild when like somebody can really test your character off of not knowing you, being like, why did you think I was the one?
Why did you think that was appropriate?
Why did you think I would say yes to this?
Hey, I was just wondering if you would be open for a quick drink, another spontaneous outing. I'm sorry, did I give off that vibe? Because I'm definitely not that. No, girls,
I'm not the one nor the two.
Someone so I politely get back to him and I'm like, Lexi helps me craft up a message like, yo.
Which can be a hit or miss.
Which could be a hit or miss. And she's
there's like, a whole weekly L segment of the things I've told Olivia to say.
And it's just
gone.
Poor. And so I'm like, yo, like, you know, thanks for thinking me, not interested, essentially. And, you know, leave it at that. He's like, okay, cool, understood. I was talking to my brother, who's another Aquarius, and he's like, oh, but you should like let him know that you're still interested in him and like text him something like asking to hang out. And I'm like, okay, sure. Like, I guess like this doesn't really feel right. Like, I'm not about to chase a man or really ask, but I'm like, sure, it's 2022. I'll try. I be trying, y'all.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
And so,
yo, the L gets more
the L gets yes. And so I asked him, and I'm like, yo, like, do you want to go to Jenny's? Like, I was like, hey, like, do you have a sweet tooth? Because he's plant-based. And I was like, do you have a sweet tooth? And he's like, not really, but what's up? And I'm like, oh, well, I was just gonna like suggest we could go to Jenny's. And he was like, aren't you gonna be out of town this weekend? And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I think you might have me mixed up with somebody else. And he was like, yeah, you're right. Like, these conversations are really confusing. Like, it's a lot to keep up with. And
is there something bigger than the ick? Because that's it.
I immediately, and when I say immediately, I immediately deleted the man's number out of my phone and deleted the conversation. Erase that. That's what I'm saying. The second step of your L's, you have to erase all evidence of them, no matter what. I needed it out of my mind.
You need it out of the vicinity. And y'all, when I saw the message, I didn't even read it that way, because I cannot imagine somebody openly admitting that they like truly are getting the people that they're talking to confused. Like, what in the grown-up hell is that?
But also, if I'm inviting you out somewhere over the weekend and then you reply, aren't you gonna be out of town this, like, it was just
it's giving the math is not mathing.
Why would I invite you? Why would you, like, just think for a second. Maybe this isn't the person that I actually thought it was.
Yeah. That's
aren't
wild.
You like, huh?
And I always try and think about like how these conversations would go in person. Like when I'm texting somebody, like I'm thinking that like we're talking. So like I can't even imagine someone being like, oh, I thought you were out of town this weekend. And you're like, what are you talking about? And they're like, you said you were going to be out of town. And you're like, no, I didn't. And then they're like, yeah, you told me that. And you're like, you're talking about somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, it's so terrible.
It was so clear. And he was like, yeah, you're right. I did get you mixed up with somebody else. I was like, yo, I've never been. These North Carolina guys really be humbling. Like, I did not experience this when I was in Atlanta. I'm gonna just let you know.
Yeah. I used to be like, no.
They're built different.
They're built different.
Maybe it's the dating app guys, though. I don't know.
Yeah.
For me personally,
everybody keeps talking that like modern dating has hit a new
low.
A new low.
We in the trenches, so that's like,
that feels like no. So what did you take away from it? You're like, delete all the L is like immediate recourse.
First of all, I shouldn't have even responded to somebody. Okay, if a man asks you, if you hang out with a guy
Yeah.
and he gets back to you 5 days later, it's a dub. You're like, you're hitting me up five business days later.
Yeah.
That's nuts. On the same day, you should have been deleted out of my phone to begin with. I'm sorry if I don't hear from you after 48 hours.
Yeah.
From the time that
unless they're going out of the country immediately.
It doesn't make sense. I'm sorry. I understand life is busy, but I'm not that.
No,
I'm not that girl.
I think I did. I was like trying to give it a little bit more leeway in the moment, but I think now it's like you were spot on with that.
I be spot on.
You be spot on.
And you're like, don't assume.
Assume. Because
you be getting me in trouble.
Okay. The thing is, your radar for like the bullshit? male bullshit is like definitely high. But I do think that like I be trying to put context of like it's really not that deep.
It's your Pisces moon that's getting you in trouble, girl. I'd be telling you.
Probably.
It's the Aquarius and
probably.
It's something. There's something going on there.
Oil and water in myself.
Because I be feeling like I just take it to the chin. But you're like, no, this could still be an opportunity. And I'm like, nah. And then I like look into, because it's like between you that's an Aquarius and my brother that's an, because it's like, if it wasn't for my Aquarius brother telling me, yo, like, no, like you should let him know that you're still interested. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
But you need a full court press. That's what you need. For your man is going to give you a full court press.
Honestly, no. You're asking me what I learned. It's to not listen to Aquarius. Because if it weren't for you being like, no, you should talk to him. Like, you should talk to him. And then my brother's sending me the follow-up. Do you want to, like, you should tell him, like, you should ask him out. Da, 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 da. I wouldn't have been in that situation.
Okay, but I think you've pushed us to this because you used to hate when I wouldn't give you advice. And then I was like, because I don't want to be held liable for the recourse of the actions. And so I think we finally
the trial period is over.
100-day trial.
100-day trial.
We're not renewing the subscription.
Bro, I'm like, y'all be getting me in trouble.
And there's a distinction. We'll have to unpack this another time. But Liv's like, you would never take your own advice. Which is... When
it comes to communicating with certain... When it comes to me communicating with men... I do not think the stuff that you would tell me to, like, that you be telling me to do, that you would be doing all the time.
Yeah. And we'll have to do a case study on it.
Oh my gosh,
Go
too funny.
The receipts.
Too funny.
But I think that's just, yeah, there's so many. I forgot about the, like, when he came back and was like, oh, I got you confused. Because that's just a particular brand of, like,
that was really
like I already opened myself up to this, but it just felt so serendipitous, y'all. Like it just felt like we had finished dinner, we were gonna walk home a certain way, and I heard music and I was like, can we just walk this way to just see what's going on? And like it just felt like there were so many things of like when we left, and it was just this high we were rolling off of, because it was like we went to dinner, it was so fun, we were walking home, there were so many things going on, like, and I just saw it and I was like, yo, like this is the perfect, because there's like this desire to have that, like, and I think a lot of people feel this way of like breaking out of the social media, out of the like the dating apps into these real life interactions. And I was like, this feels perfect. Like we matched, but here we are in this situation. Even on Married at First Sight, like they had matched, or they were on dating apps and then they ended up getting married. But so I was like, this is it. Like, this is it. So I was definitely hyping. I think the
psychic also just like put that thing in my mouth that was like, oh, like it's the last leg of June. Like it could really be what they talking about. Maybe that's also lesson. Don't listen to
every.
Don't
put the weight on the insides that like has you acting outside your character.
If you tell me I'm about to meet my mans, I'm gonna be literally in a particular month. I'm gonna literally be counting down the days.
But that does not justify the audacity.
We're in August now.
Either way. So my L's. I just think that one's so
I can't with you.
Because it's like the disrespect, because it's like you do all this work and for somebody to be like, I got you mixed up. Oh my gosh.
You're like, I could never. That's when girls are like, I could never, like, when people are like, I could never imagine, like the stuff that you could never imagine be happening to me. And I'm too bad for it. Like,
exactly. That's the part. It's like dang.
No way.
Which is why you have to delete all, because it's like, this didn't happen.
But like, there's something going on in a tall man's psyche that thinks that they can get away with anything. Just because you're 6'8" does not mean that you can get away with murder. Okay? They really think that they can like maneuver.
There should be a case study.
Bare minimum. There needs to be a case study on Paul.
But we talked about this where we gave too much hype as like a collective body to the tall, dark, and handsome. Yeah. So we were like, we just wanted tall, dark, and handsome. But that was just an entry point to the conversation. We never finished it up. So now you have all these tall, dark, and handsome men being like, I'm it. I did it. And it's like, that was just your admissions ticket. Like, now you have to do the work. Like, you got to show up for the show. Like, you got to show out. Like, that's not just it. That's not the only thing.
Dark-skinned men are out of control right now. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Canceled. Absolutely canceled.
They are off their rocker.
Well, my L's are really not that funny, but I definitely got humbled a couple of times. So I'd been in so many conversations with people recently about like, I was like, you know, obviously there's like a rise in COVID cases again, and everybody's trying to figure out like what that means for their summer plans. And I was like, I just don't think I got it. Like, I haven't gotten it like everyone else has gotten it. Like, I have so many friends that have gotten it once, twice, like all of it. My parents have gotten it, all this stuff. So I was like, oh, I'm good. And then lo and behold, knocked out, which was so humbling, because it's just like the hard part is like you just don't know when, where, why, like how or whatever. And it just was like such a monkey wrench into like everything. Like, I just don't like not having an autonomy to like do and go as I please. So I was just like housebound, which was so not fun. And just like, it was just the biggest, and I felt so humbled because I was just telling somebody where I was like, I just haven't gotten it yet.
I'm just
like,
a superior blood. What can I say?
I definitely had a complex. Like, it definitely was a source of pride for me. 100%. And then it was just like, it throws your whole week off. It throws everything off. Granted, it was like super mild, and I was really good, super Gucci, and like obviously happy that I like work remote and all of that stuff. So that was like the great thing. But I had to facilitate a meeting for work, and I was like playing it by ear, and I was like, I might be able to go in, and like everybody's masked in our office and everything like that. So I was like, I might be able to go in depending. And then I was like, safety protocol, like I'm just going to play it safe. And when I tell y'all, every tech issue that could have possibly happened. I'm the only person tuning in virtually. I'm facilitating the meeting, and I'm like, our office is like super techy. You have like 5 presenting screens. You have this intercom system that like tracks when people are talking. Like, it's super easy to be hybrid. And I'm tuning in, and I literally can't speak. Like, the audio is not working on the other end. So we're like, okay, cool, it's whatever. So I was like co-facilitating with somebody else. So like they took the first half of the meeting, and I was like, we'll figure this out. But like the meeting's starting 10 minutes late because like they can't figure out how to get me. My face is on this big ass screen, like all this stuff. And I'm just like, can't do anything. Like, I'm a troubleshooter. So I'm just sitting on the other end of this being like, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't know what to do. They break halfway through. This is a 3-hour meeting I'm on.
Oh my gosh.
They break halfway through, and my colleague is trying to like help me out. My co-facilitator is like, I had everything written out for what I was going to say. So I was like, yo, like when in doubt, if I can't speak, like you got it. And she was like, no. And I was like, I literally wrote out everything. She's like, no. So my colleague ends up calling me on the phone, and I'm on speaker on my phone in the middle of this room with like 10 people while my face is on Zoom, and I'm literally on speakerphone in the middle of the room. And then her phone like overheats and like every single tech issue that could have happened. And I was literally like, at that point,
her phone overheated and died?
Yes, it died. So then like halfway, it was just, I'm literally holding my phone like this while I'm on Zoom. And I'm just like, this is, at that point, it's like such an L that you literally I'm like, I don't know.
It's time for me to shut the laptop and call it a day.
I'm on this like laptop computer screen being projected while I'm literally on speaker in the middle of the room.
With COVID.
And it's just like one of those things where it's like, you can have all of the fancy gadgets or whatever, but like sometimes the world is just going to be like, it is not your time to thrive.
I would have been like, where are the planets at?
And so I just took that. I took that one to the chin. I made like a bunch of jokes about it to my colleagues and everything. And I was like, the silly job. Like, oh, just when tech, never works out for you.
I just think it's funny because since you're so good at your job, I think you can get away with stuff like that. Someone like me, that would have been the last straw.
Olivia, you can just sign off out of the meeting. We're just gonna end it.
Yeah. It's giving. There's a one-on-one in my calendar the next day. Like, what can we do to prevent this from happening again?
It was just so chaotic. It was so chaotic that when we were done, I just like closed my computer and I was like, this one's just whatever. But the other one that I was really thinking about was like, I had this epiphany the other day, and it's definitely more of a lesson than it is an L, because those are my L's. My L's are so just like compounding and like not cute that there's not even a funny twist to the fact that it's just like,
no, but like the speaker, not the phone overheating and dying.
It was every single thing, like just could not go well. It was literally, and like luckily my other colleague, she's amazing. She's such a troubleshooter with me, so like she's trying to help me out, and I know I'm like stressing her out because I'm like, there's nothing I can do, but I'm like, yo, that is so ratchet.
I don't know.
That's so ratchet to have you just like putting Lexi out on the speaker.
If I were, I would have just taken it for the team, and I would have presented it.
Exactly. I was like, I set y'all up to be successful, and I told the other girl, I was like, there's a high possibility I'm like not going to be there, so here's everything you need for the activities and whatever. But there was just the like, and I respect that, being like, no, no thanks.
But the epiphany.
It was just like, it was so funny, and I was like, wow. But the other thing was earlier, like before I got COVID and everything, like I love my little, sometimes I go into the office and I love my little commute. It's like a perfect, nice little drive. And I'm like reading Octavia Butler's work again, and it's so powerful and so revolutionary, but it's like so simple.
Yeah.
And a lot of her book in The Parable of the Sower is like about the idea of like this earth seed and like basically like what happens when we, let it all really just crumple, and then like what do we rebirth with, which I think is a beautiful concept. But there's this like phenomenal quote, anybody who's an Octavia like fan stan will know, but it's this quote that I'm like, I've heard so many times, but have you ever like heard something so many times and then you get it? Then you're like, wow, like if I got a tattoo, I think this is what I'd get tattooed on me, because it's just that like, wow, that's something to live by. And okay, so I have to read it because I'm like, I know it in my head, but I'm like, I just don't want to mess it up. But it's, all that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. And I was just like, I was thinking about it, and I was like listening to my like audiobook, and then like I listened to a podcast that like debriefs the chapters. And they were just talking about it, and they kept saying that quote over and over again. Like they were like, this is the chapter that this is where the quote comes from. This is like the state of the book. I'm not a big fiction reader at all, so it's like this is already kind of a lot for me to unpack. But I was like, whoa, like that. If that's not like the biggest ripple effect reminder that like we are constantly changing.
In flow, if you will.
Always in flow.
Yeah.
And it just really clicks that there's this, not just that like all that you do is changing, but then everything you change is changing you.
Absolutely.
And that's really the constant. Is that we're in that mechanism of change. And to me, it's like the culmination of everything from the flow to abundance to like sustainability to like what's possible. It's like to the imagining and the reimagining. And it just clicked to me, and it clicked in a way that was like, wasn't an awe. It was like a relief. It was like, oh,
I'm good where I'm at.
I'm good where I'm at, and you don't always have to mark it, because it's like, as long as you're just living, you are changing. Like you are doing the progress, you are evolving. You don't always have to be like, oh, I'm doing this new, like I'm right. Like it doesn't have to be those things. It's just like, living is like okay for the day. So everything that I'm doing is already making that impact on me.
Absolutely.
I don't have to be checking that box. And that was just like such a relief for me.
Yeah.
Because I think I'd been taking so many L's in my mind that I'm like, oh, like I cannot get my footing. Like I cannot get ahead of this. I think I told you, I was like, I feel like I'm chasing life, not like life chasing me.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I need to get ahead of this. I need to get grounded and all this stuff. And then I was like, whoa, life, like me doing this is enough.
Absolutely. And I completely agree with that. And it's funny because I recently saw a TikTok by Mike Posner, which is the guy that was like, if I could write you a song.
Yeah, thanks for taking my Octavia Butler to Mike Posner.
Look, we have a balance, baby, right? And he was like actually kind of spitting because he was like, you know, what makes a day a good day? Like we have created in our minds what it means to live a good day, you know, good whatever. But like a day where you are living is enough. Like where you are just doing nothing, like that's enough.
Yeah.
We have created this construct around what it means to like be in a good spot, whatever.
Yeah. Or the vibes are good, or like all of these criteria.
And it's like we don't have to have all of that. We can literally just live and like learn. And I think, I don't know, when I think about the times where I felt the most stagnant and the most like just troubled, I guess, if you will. When I look back on those, I'm like, wow, I was actually learned so much during that time because I realized the context of where my life was and how I've been able to take that experience and transform it into where I am today. So it's like, you got to appreciate all of the phases and comings and downloads of the L's that you take.
Exactly.
And recognize that, like if you ain't taking L's, like
then you're not doing it.
You're stuck in a room and you're confined and you're not. Yeah.
And we gotta take this outside so that we can really live into it. We gotta test it. We gotta see what's working, what's not working.
Yeah. We're meant to rebirth ourselves and to learn. And that's what life is all about. So from my situation, I've learned to not listen to Aquariuses. and to also not always listen to take face value what psychics say, and also don't respond to guys if they hit you up 5 days
later.
All of the things. So,
and I took away, sometimes you just gotta let go.
Sometimes you just gotta close that laptop and call it a day, girl.
Close the laptop.
Say, this is too much.
And as much technology as we like, it's just, you just cannot account for the very human aspect of all of this.
My Wi-Fi went out, guys. I'm sorry.
Don't
That's
abuse
what
it.
I'm gonna do.
Definitely we're not putting all of our eggs in that basket. And then 2, living is just okay. It's enough.
It's enough.
It's enough. And everything that needs you will find you. There it is. There it is.
Drop down in the comments below what your weekly L for this week was, or just a moment that you realized, you know, to help us understand how to contextualize, you know, these L's. Let us know if there are any lessons that you've learned, any downloads. And with that, we are gonna leave you guys with peace, love, blessings, and we will see you guys soon. Bye.
Bye, y'all.